Welcome to Shooting Spaces, a real estate and other type of photography podcast. This is Rich Baum from Sacramento, California.
Brian Berkowitz here from New York, and welcome. What's going on, Rich? I feel like with these monthly podcasts now, I never really speak to you or see you as often. So,
well, you know, it's summertime is good and bad. It's hot here in California, but it's a little bit slow. I always feel it's a little slow this time of year, but keeping busy and enjoying life, and that's what it's all about. You know,
that's it. The last time. For all of you that don't know, Rich and I had a meeting on Monday, a Zoom meeting.
I haven't even said it.
And
is this the announcement?
No. Rich and I had a Zoom meeting Monday with another company, and we're all sitting by our computers, and Rich is in his wetsuit in his car with his surfing gear next to him.
No, it wasn't a wetsuit.
It looked like a wetsuit.
But I had my kite surfing board in the back of the car, and just got to do what you got to do, you know?
All right, cool. So before we get into it and introduce our guests, as we normally do, let's take a quick minute and pause for a quick word from our sponsors, HD Photo Hub.
HD Photo Hub is the complete solution for any photography business that needs a professional white label platform that automates payment collection, scheduling, and photo delivery, all without monthly contracts or fees. HD Photo Hub is all about your business and your brand. They don't put their logo on any of your order forms or sites, and they even integrate with the email services and automation tools you are already using today. Hey, they even have live customer support to help you get started. Visit hdphotohub.com and sign up for a free one-on-one demo or live webinar to learn more.
All right, thank you from HD Photo Hub. So let's get into it. Let's introduce our guests from today. I will start with my top left, because that's who I see. I don't know where anyone else sees it. But Nima Mohammadi out of Baltimore area, Maryland. Is it Recreate or Recreate? What's the actual?
Yeah, we go with Recreate.
Recreate Visuals. You've been on the show before, as you pretended to not remember episode 111 earlier. But you've been on the show before and told your whole story. So we're not going to get into your whole story now. But just give a quick minute about who you are, where you're from, what kind of work you do.
Sure. I'm a real estate photographer. I own the Recreative Visual in state of Maryland. We cover most area of state of Maryland. I'm doing real estate photography for 8 years now, 6 years full time, and I guess things are better than I deserve.
I can't believe it's been 8 years, Nima.
I know. God, getting old.
Just unbelievable. Yeah.
And to put it in perspective, you do a lot of volume, right? You're like a volume type studio. I know you have other people that shoot for you now, maybe compared to the last time we spoke, but you're doing over 1,000 listings a year. Yes. So you're just knocking them out.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. And then we have on my bottom right, I don't know where anyone else sees him, but Stephen Karlisch out of Dallas area. And I'm sure most people know you from your work online and everywhere else they see you, but you're mostly an interior design photographer, but let's, give you a quick little pitch.
Yeah, pretty much. That's basically it. I mean, I shoot about 99% of my work is strictly for interior design clients, and some retail occasionally, but I think I'll pass that to you from now on.
I was about to say, stepping in my territory.
No.
You know what? I'm going to actually publicly thank you, because you did pass me a job for Chanel, and it actually went through and it happened. So I do. I want to give a public thank you to you, Stephen.
And I sent somebody else your way about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I don't know if they.
Okay. No, I haven't heard from them yet, but.
Yeah, a lot of editorial. I got started shooting a lot of editorial. I still, a lot of my stuff gets published. It's not directly for publications a lot now. Sadly, they don't assign photography the way they used to. It's all submitted, but a lot of my work does get published. So it's more of an editorial style of interior photography. I rarely work for architects or builders. It's strictly just really more focused on design work.
Cool. And I know you have a very interesting story, because you've been in this industry for years, starting in the film days, which I really appreciated. And we're not going to get into that now, but I will say, if anybody wants to hear your full story, also, you recently had an interview with Jordan Powers on his podcast, and you can listen for, I think it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and hear your whole vibe. So
Yeah.
If anyone wants to learn your story, go there. And then in my bottom
And what's
left
your?
is
I'm
Rich
sorry
Baum.
if you've said it already. What's your website? How do we
It's just
check
my
you out?
name. It's StephenKarlisch.com.
Let's get into it first. I'm going to, I guess I'll pass this to you first, Nima, because we'll start with some real estate. And you do similar to what Rich does. Am I not mistaken? You're more of a flambient shooter,
Correct.
flash ambient blend. So what was your progression of shooting when you started doing this? Did you start natural light? Did you, I feel like most people that start real estate photography start with brackets. That's like the easy initial easy way in. You go brackets and you do either infuse or photomatics or whatever, or just send it off and let someone take care of it. What was your progression to get to flambient?
So I started with the HDR. So that was the initial one. It was too many different ways to shoot it that at that time it was super hard to decide which way to go. You need something fast to get the ball rolling. So HDR was the main thing. I never liked the way it looked. And most of it is because I couldn't process it the way it needs to be processed.
How are you processing?
I mean, photomatics.
Lightroom or photomatics?
Yeah. So,
And this is before people were outsourcing. Really?
correct.
Yeah.
It was in my first year and a half doing this as a part-time photographer. So, then I start practicing different things. I start shooting my own townhouse with natural light. Then I did HDR. Then I learned a little bit about flambient, start doing that one. And I like the flambient part a little bit more because I have more control over everything. And then I stayed with the flambient all these years, and all my photographers that's coming and going, all of them will train to do the flambient also in real estate.
So that's how you teach your photographers.
Correct.
So let me ask you, as somebody who shoots over 1,000 listings a year, do you personally shoot 1,000 listings a year, or your company shoots 1,000?
At this point, I probably shoot around 700 of them myself. I have another photographer that working at any given time. I have one or two photographers. I just hire another person, so she's going to be ready in the next month or so, but close to 700. And I do most of the upgraded package drone and iGuide. We offer iGuide too. So all of this stuff is done by me. Yes.
All right. So with that amount of listings, do you think, I mean, I guess it's worth it to you because you do that, but I'm talking about when you're on site and you're doing quality versus speed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can never personally do that. So I commend you for shooting 700 listings a year. Like, I just don't have the hustle, the heart, the brains, the willpower to do that.
That's 1.917 listings a day for 365 days.
Well, I'll work 5 days a week only.
So we're talking about 4 to 5 a day.
So even that, shooting 4 to 5, I mean, don't you ever feel the need or the want to just kind of shoot brackets quickly and just get out because you're just doing so much volume? And it's like, look, at the end of the day, and I'm not trying to degrade what we're doing here, but we're service providers. And if we can get the job done, and maybe it's not 100% good, but it's 90 or 95, and no one's going to really make such a fuss or know the difference just to get in and out and save maybe a half hour on a shoot if you're just bracketing? Honestly,
Last PMRE, I went and talked to a lot of people with the big teams, and not a single person was shooting flambient. That makes me think that am I, in a way of growing, with this style of shooting. But I believe that it all goes back to what you say. We are a service provider. We provide value for the clients. So how do you define that value? Value to me is quality plus service divided by cost. And in the best case scenario, you only can get two of them right. I decide to go based on quality and service. By service, I have my phone 24/7 with me. If anybody needs something, I will answer it as soon as I can. Quality of work, I didn't want to go HDR because I didn't like the way it looked. Nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of taste. I mean, I didn't like, or let me back up. The way I shoot it, it looks better to me. So I decided to stick with that quality, sacrifice a little bit of volume, obviously, because I heard that people in my area, at least those people who shot HDR, they are in and out of the property in 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes. I'm very fast with flambient, so I can knock down a 3,000 square feet in 45 minutes, still shooting flambient. Wow. So I get to the point that I'm very fast. So I was doing it a lot faster until I met Tony Colangelo. So he walked me through the composition, it slowed me down. I start spending hour in the house trying to find the 1/3 line here or there. But it takes time. After 2-3 months, I get back to my normal routine. Now in Maryland, there's not a single house that I don't know the layout before I walk in. So I already know how to shoot it, where to stand, how to, use different composition. Again, I could do a lot more if I shoot HDR, but that's a business decision, I guess.
Nima, how many images are you delivering for a 23,000 square foot house?
35.
I'm going to quote Nima Mario, who just posted in the chat. You have perfected the balance of quality and speed. You are legendary. So I guess you got some fans. But on that note, Steven, let me pass this to you. And I know you don't really shoot real estate, but I would like to kind of hear your thoughts on that, on balancing, from a perspective of looking at someone that shoots that kind of work, and better than anyone the type of quality you can get out of flash versus shooting natural light. And, there's a conversation we'll have later because majority of my work is natural light. But how do you find that proper balance when you're shooting 4 to 5 houses a day, but you still want to deliver quality? You have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I seriously can't wrap my head around getting in and out of the house that fast. I get 2 to 3 days a house sometimes, and I only have to do 20 images a day. So it's the complete opposite. If I were doing that many houses a day, I would definitely use flash, and I would definitely shoot flambient. People just bouncing a head or an umbrella, whatever, depending on what the interior looked like, and zipping through a house and kind of deal with it later. I think that's the only way. So I think that's like.
Yeah,
I don't know how people do ambient only in real estate. I think it's too muddy.
So I'll tell you, when I started doing real estate, 2014, maybe something like that, I was shooting all brackets because that's kind of what I learned. I was using Infuse and whatever other things were out there, and it was good enough. I mean, it helped me launch my business and start my business, and I started getting clients that way. And then as I started progressing, I brought in flash, and I was shooting flambient for years. And now I'm on the reverse side of it, where I don't really shoot real estate now. I think to date, I've maybe shot 12 to 15 residential real estate listings all year at this point, and we're in August now. I find myself reverting back to shooting brackets, and the reason I think is, and this is going to sound really bad, but I'm going to say it anyway. Number one, I don't care. And I'm just being honest. Because I don't shoot real estate really. And, I don't need the quality to look good because I'm not looking for more real estate clients. And number two, I outsource it anyway, as far as the editing. And like I was saying earlier, I don't need 100%. They get it to 90%, and that's enough for me for the type of work I'm doing, because I have literally 2 real estate clients that I still shoot for, and that's it. And they're not volume agents. So I find myself now reverting back to it because that's not what I do. And the only real estate listings that I shoot now are in my local town. That's the only ones I'll take, because it's a 5-10 minute drive for me. So I just go there and I try to get in and out and get back to my house as quick as possible, because I'm charging real estate rates. So, the quicker you're in and out, the more money you're making. So for me, it's quicker to just bracket and move on. So that's kind of where I am. And it, I know that I'm sacrificing quality, but like I said, and I hate to say it, I kind of just don't care if that's the best way to put it. So
yeah, I guess there's a fine line of trying to create an image that's better than everyone else in your market to get more business. But it's like, where is that line? And I think, Nima said it best. It's like, you got to kind of pick two parameters to deal with and, just go from there. Honestly, since I don't shoot real estate, so I don't know what people are typically looking for.
Have you ever shot real estate or
never have? No. I got started before real estate photography was a thing. And I just remember when I owned my first house back in like 2003, when we sold it around 2000 and 2012, something like that. I just remember around that time period, I was going to shoot it myself. We're like, no, let's just let the realtor deal with it, with the real estate photographer. And I was just kind of like, this is just a whole nother thing. So I just kind of have never had to kind of get into it, never felt the need to. It's just I'm not really a speed shooter. So I kind of like a slower pace.
And you probably have a lot of your clients you've been working with since those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're used to it, and they're expecting that. It's all about expectations,
Mm.
I have kind of a unique thing coming up. I'm having my shoulder replaced September 7th. So I will be unable to shoot at all, or even go out for at least 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And when I come back, I'm going to have somebody assist me. And I'm debating, I may just do ambient HDR and outsource it, because I'm not going to be able to edit, work my mouse. I'm luckily left-handed, but you still got to use a left hand when you're using the computer. And I don't want to say it's not because I don't care, but it's when I do outsource, it isn't, I have an editor that's really good, and it's not bad. It is, I've worked with them to get it a little bit of shadows and a little bit of life. And I can also take it and tweak it when I get it back. But I'm going to probably tell my agents, I'm just going to, I'm here for you. And I think that what I'm going to give you is still going to be great. It's going to be a little different. But it's not because I don't care, and part of me is like, I wouldn't mind doing it all the time because it would be a lot quicker. But it's just not my thing. It's not my style, and it's hard for me. But I respect both ways. I respect taking time. I take a lot more time than you do, Nima, and I deliver a lot more images. But I'm lucky. I have the ability I have the freedom to do that. I don't have a super busy schedule, and I make enough money on my shoots that I can do that. So it's all individual, and it's not that one is better than the other. I think that the HDR has come a long way, and a lot of the people that are delivering stuff that actually looks really, really good. It's a little flat for my taste, a little bit bleached out and white. I can at least tell it's HDR. I can always tell it, but it's not like it used to be, Nima, when we started. And Brian, you've seen my beginning work, and I've seen your beginning work.
Yeah.
Looking, it ain't clown vomit, at least. Stephen, you ever heard that term, clown vomit?
Mine was.
Anyway, but I just want to say that I think that there are definitely many ways to do this. And but I'd like to bring something up, though. Nima, are you doing everything flambient? Or are you doing some more editorial work that is possibly all ambient? Or where are you at with that? Are you incorporating that a little bit? Someone told me that you were doing a little more natural light photography. I don't know if that was true.
I try to use light as much as possible. It's just a habit, because 99% of my work is real estate. When it's real estate, it's not an architectural element into it. It's not a luxury house. It's a day-to-day home built by a builder. They don't think about which direction the house is, the light is coming in the morning and it's good or not. It's just you working with a mess of windows, or sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. If it's good, we use it the best we can. But I would say most of the time is not helpful. So the best way to do it for me is to use light, so I don't have to deal with what time of the day I should shoot this house, because I work hour and 15 minutes to in and out. So I don't have a luxury of time to play with the natural light.
It's like we have the two opposites, Stephen and Nima, where Stephen, you do have the luxury, and it's and for me though, I think the light is what it's most important to me. It's to be able to control colors, and we don't have the time to. I mean, I do have the time sometimes to shoot the left side of the house first because the sun's streaming in, and I'm there, at least an hour and a half to possibly 2 to 3 hours on most of my big houses. And I have the time, and that makes a big difference if I wait, or I can schedule it a better time of the day, But I just think that using the lights gives you the ability to control what God has given you. And it really, really helps me. It's mandatory for me.
I think with ambient, it's you just can't make a global adjustment and fix everything. So, you run the risk of having to mask so many different elements just to kind of get the color back to what you think is normal. And you don't really have a base reference of what a fabric looked like or what the paint color was specifically. But if
That's a bitch.
You know the color temperature of your strobe all the time. So it's pretty easy to kind of dial that in first and then, start to work backwards from there. So I think, a lot of people that do what I do shoot only natural light, and, and that's a huge trend. Everyone, I shoot a lot of my shots are natural light too. I do spend a lot of time controlling the natural light, and I have the luxury of, 20 to 30 minutes on a shot to, sort of, make it look like a beautiful natural light shot. And then I start to add strobe in to sort of tell more of a story editorially of what I want that room to look like. So I will work the ambient first and then bring in the strobe to the area that I want to draw attention to. So I think it's, for me, I do appreciate the color that I get out of the strobe and the contrast. And there's just the fact that I can control my ambient with the strobe, and not have to, do as much work in post. So,
and maybe, Nima, let me ask you, well, at least for me, when I'm shooting flambient, I am shooting, I'm using the flash image, and I'm bringing in the ambient to fix all the shit that is wrong with flash. Nima, are you also basing everything off your flash image and you're bringing in ambient, or do you flip?
All right. I usually shoot 1, maximum 2 ambient shot if I need to. If one room is a lot brighter than the room in the back, I may use 2 of them just to have it in my pocket. But I use natural light first. I shoot ambient first. Then I add flash layer. I'll walk around with my strobe and hit it anywhere that I want. We add those layer on the top of it. And at the end, we add ambient shot to just get a nice and realistic feeling to that.
And Stephen, do I dare guess that you were basing off of ambient and you're using flash to add in directionality and color correction? Or you
pretty much exactly what Nima just said. Same kind of concept where it's, sort of getting my ambient to where I think it's a good usable base point, and then adding my strobe. Sometimes if I can really tweak it to exactly how I want it, I get it like 90% of the way there with strobe. I'll just use one exposure for my shot and just kind of play with that in post. And then, if not, it's usually, I'll either do 1 or 2 things. I'll either do the ambient, lay the flash on top of the ambient where I need it, or I'll use the flash and bring the ambient. And so it just depends on the shot, they're all different.
And do you do your own editing, Stephen?
I do a lot of my own editing. It's just been tricky to sort of outsource it. It's just not it's not consistent with sort of what I'm looking for, and it's expensive.
More trouble than it's worth sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to do a lot of prep just to send the files out, sort of explain what I'm looking for, and then, and then you wait and you kind of get them back, and you're like, okay, I still want to go back in and work on them more. So I'm like, I could have probably tweaked. I mean, I would say out of a shoot, if I'm going to deliver, say, 25 photos from a day of photography, I would think that maybe 10 to 15 of those shots are probably single exposures. And then the rest are maybe 2-frame blends. So, I can do a lot in Capture One before I even export it. So,
and
you're almost old school in that regard.
Yeah. Do what?
I would say
do you use an assistant? I'm sorry.
Always. I don't. Yeah, I always use an assistant. I'm just too old to work around all that gear. I mean, I'm setting up a lot of. My stand bag weighs 75 pounds. I mean, it's just stands and poles and silks and solids, and I got so much crap. It's kind of annoying. But as far as strobes go, I typically will maybe use I try to use one on a shot, one per shot. I'll add a second. Typically, if I need to go to a third, it's because I'm seeing into another room and I just don't want to have to layer it in later. I'll just add it to the overall shot. I feel like if I'm getting paid by the client while I'm there to make the shot perfect and, not rush through it. So, I'm not going to try to rush through it and just pop and fix it later in Photoshop when they're, not paying me to watch me. So,
it's weird. Pro photos. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm all pro photo.
Yeah. I thought.
Yeah, no, but your technique, it's funny because I know you have an old film background and you've been doing this for 20 plus years, but you almost have that old school mentality, which I had for a while, but I kind of got away from it, where minimize post and just try to get it as good as possible at a camera. It's almost like from the real estate perspective, the Scott Hargis kind of theory, where you just want to get it as good as you can at a camera and minimize post. And which I used to do for a while. And like I said, I come from a film background where you have to get it right in a single shot. But I don't know, doing this for so many years, you start to, I guess your technique starts to evolve, which mine has at this point, where you start to realize the benefits of Photoshop and you start to rely on that a little more. And you realize, like you said, sometimes you'll go put a third flash in another room so you don't have to deal with it in post, where I'm just like, I'll just deal with it in post type of thing. Because I mean, my kind of theory is I'd rather be at home working than on location working. So if something will go a little quicker on location and it takes me a little longer at home, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. If I take longer to do a shot on location, it means I end up with fewer shots to edit in the end anyway. So.
No, it makes sense.
So it's different, but I think I just like to see what it's going to look like. I want to make sure I get I want to make sure that what I see on my screen, it's cropped. I make some adjustments to it. Clients on an iPad, looking off to the side, I'm tethered, and and I'll do some global adjustments. I'll do some burning and dodging
on site.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've got time. I mean, I'm always working with a stylist, and the stylist will usually take 15 to 30 minutes on a shot just to get it styled. So I usually have my camera set before they really kind of get going, just so they can see the angle. And then, I basically get to kind of watch them style and just sort of tweak things. And while they're doing things, I'm messing around with the image on my computer to make it look perfect. So that when we are doing our final bracket or whatever we're doing, it looks really good. And the clients are very happy because they kind of know what they're going to get. It's not like, I'm going to run around and pop, and then be like, yeah, this will look great. Just wait, that kind of guy. And, speaking of film, and Rich, you remember this too, back since you were in the film days, in the film industry, is I used to have to shoot, you couldn't see anything in your shot. You couldn't see light stands. You couldn't see your strobes. You couldn't walk around the frame and, erase it later, so I still sort of light everything that way, where I don't want to see my lights. I don't want to see any kind of modifier that I'm using, in the shot. So everything's kind of backed up, pulled back a little bit, and maybe that just kind of keeps things looking the way that I like them to look, instead of me, walking through with a big octabox, lighting everything, real soft and then painting it all in later, it's, to me, that's not really the look I'm going for. But, you know, I know how to do it. It's just not what I do.
Well, I was never in the camera department, which I regret because I worked on some of the biggest films of all time, and I worked with the greatest directors of photography of all time, and I never really had the desire. I had the opportunity all day long to ask questions, watch lighting and this night, and I never gave a shit about it. And I really regret that because though I was a photographer since 1968, I was not a serious photographer and I didn't use lighting. And then when I got into photography again and started trying to do, as you said, Brian, starting to do the Scott Hargis method, I just realized I didn't know I wasn't good enough. It took me too long to get it right in camera. And then I learned how to do compositing and learned how to put, be in the shot and, visualize what I'm going to be, what I'm going to use, what's going to be in the shot, what's not going to be in the shot. But boy, in the old days, they couldn't see there was no video. I mean, I'm before video monitors and Video Village. And they used to take Polaroids, black and white Polaroids. And I never really understood it until later in life, how that was to show you the exposure. That was to show you what you were getting in the ballpark, what you were going to get. Never understood about gelling windows. I mean, I never got why they had to do that. And then when I started at the very end of my career, they started working digitally. I only did one feature film that was digital. And I was a production designer, and the cameraman was telling me, "Well, Rich, we can't shoot this because it's going the actor is going from sun to shade to sun." And I'm like, "Well, why not?" And I didn't understand it, but now I understand all that, and it made a lot of sense. But I think that as you're saying, it was really different in the old days, and if you started in 2000 or even before that. You had to have a lot of experience and you had to really understand what was going on. And yeah, you couldn't have your lights in the back because you couldn't use Photoshop when you started, you can't do any kind of flambiant. You can't do layering, masking per se, so you really, God bless you. You really had to do a lot of.
Well, I worked at a catalog studio, and you guys may appreciate this. This is a little geeky here, but they were shooting, room sets, furniture room sets, and we would have, maybe like 7 or 8 lights on a room set, and shooting 8x10 and 4x5, and we used to use acetates that would hold the film. That when the film was processed, the 4x5, it goes into an acetate sleeve. And so we would crinkle up the acetate, and we would have a set of lights as backlights on the set. And so they were just for the highlights. So you were shooting in a dark room. Basically, the studio is completely blacked out. So all your strobes are on different triggers. And so all your edge lighting, all your backlighting, all the sunlight that's coming in was on a separate channel, basically on a separate pack. And so whenever you would do that exposure for the piece of film, you're basically building up exposures on the film, and you would put the acetate over it so that all the highlights had a little glow.
It's like you're using Photoshop almost.
But it was all baked into one exposure because it was all on transparency film. So you had to get it completely perfect. So it's when you learn things that way, I think it sticks with you. Yeah. And it's we have it too easy now, and I think a lot of people are lazy, and they just kind of rely on too many of these post-production skills. It's like, I feel like, and I say this all the time, it's like, I feel like a lot of Photoshop professionals have, turned into photographers because they know it's like they can just take an average image,
fix it in post.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. That reminds me of what you just said, Stephen, when I used to shoot weddings for years with film. Using Hasselblad 2 1/4
with your daddy,
with my and others, whatever. So back when we were shooting in the film days, and we used to shoot like room shots or like the ballroom before all the guests came in, and we used to basically do what was then like a film version of light painting, where we'd open up the shutter of the camera fully, put like a black thing over the lens, and the assistant would walk from table to table and just flash pop that table. Then they'd cover the lens up, walk to the next table, open it up, flash pop. And it was almost like a film version of light painting. And it would take maybe 5 to 10 minutes to get an entire room shot because you were light painting in camera. It was incredible.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Your little Mets handle flashes, little potato masher flashes.
Yeah, well, I didn't use Mets. I used Lumidines, but you remember Lumidines?
Yeah.
But yeah.
You remember cables? Well, you had to plug in your lights.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I had a little battery pack over my shoulder. Anyway, what's that, Rich?
Oh, I just wanted to bring him. Cindy James is out there in the audience, and she just posted one thing, a comment about comp between what we're all talking about. It doesn't matter what we're doing because composition is key, either brackets or flambiant. It's really the composition, I feel, and I would assume she says, I feel that it's what it's all about, you know? So we're all sort of doing the same thing. We're just doing it differently.
Yeah.
Well, I think the lighting and the way you shoot and your technique for lighting kind of emulates your style, but composition is key for the feel that people see when they see the shot. So I think they work in tandem, in my opinion. Obviously you have to have good composition or the shot's ruined from the beginning. But once you have that composition, no matter your lighting technique, that kind of just helps refine your style a little bit.
Right. You can fix any lighting problem in some degree, but when the composition is bad, you can fix that one. So you better get it right.
Yeah. I think you have to really struggle or challenge yourself to make interesting photographs now. I know in real estate, it's probably not as easy to be creative, but I think if you shoot interiors now more than ever, it's, you have to stand out somehow. And, everybody shoots the same angles, the same stuff. All the houses look the same. I mean, if I see another modern farmhouse kitchen island shot straight on, I'm going to choke, it's just like, everybody's got the same content out there. I mean, we all look the same. So, you got to kind of figure out a way to differentiate yourself from the pack and create your own style. And I think with lighting, you can a lot easier than if you're just trying to rely on ambient only. It's, you can only do so much with an ambient image. I feel like you have a lot more room to play with creative lighting. So,
right.
Makes sense. Before we move on, we got to stop for a quick minute, as usual, and give a quick word from our sponsors at iGuide.
Are you looking to expand your real estate photography business? Stand out from the crowd by offering 3D tours, accurate room measurements, square footage calculations, and professionally drafted floor plans, all from the click of a button with the state-of-the-art iGuide camera system. Get your first 5 standard iGuides up to 3,000 square feet free by adding the code Shooting Spaces in the referral section at camera purchase. Visit goiguide.com to learn more.
All right. Thank you, iGuide. And Stephen, I want to turn to something that you kind of mentioned earlier very briefly, but I want to kind of dive a little deeper in it because I'm personally curious. And we're talking about your process and how you work on the natural light first, whether it's subtractive lighting or flagging or whatever you do, and then you kind of build up flash after that. And I'm actually kind of curious about your process because I'm mostly a natural light shooter. If you look at my portfolio, I would say 98% of that stuff is completely natural light. And I sort of only bring in flash at this point when I need to fix a problem, such as like window blooming. Yesterday, for instance, I was on a shoot, or Tuesday, 2 days ago, I was on a shoot, and we had some models in the shoot for some lifestyle images. And I ended up bringing in flash to light the models because I would have had to bump my ISO up too much. It wouldn't have matched all that. So I brought in flash. And to be honest, I didn't even like the look of it. Like when I finished the editing, it didn't really match so well, the flash models with the ambient shot. So I'm curious, like what's you want to elaborate a little more on your process and how you kind of, work the natural light, but then bring in the flash?
Yeah, I think
without giving away too much, because I know, you give workshops and stuff.
Yeah,
which I want to attend.
no matter how much I talk about it with people, even people that have taken my workshops, it still takes a long time to sink in how it all works. I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's still kind of every now and then I kind of learn something new just by trial and error. But I do like to kind of understand, the type of space that I'm shooting for. The designer comes first, so I have to kind of understand the style of the design that I'm shooting, what the designers typically, kind of what their threshold is on what I can give them as far as like, I don't want to push things too far one way for one shoot and then too far another way, another shoot. So kind of got to figure out, I have this little this parameters of how much I can push my strobe or lean more heavy on ambient based on the designer. So every kind of process is a little bit different, but understanding the right ambient for the room is the first step. And it's understanding what the direction of light is. So, am I going to keep the direction of light natural as to what it is in the room already? Do I find out where that light source is coming from? And then I start with, okay, how can I control that direction of light? Is it by giving an entire wall a negative fill on one side of the room, or shutting doors and windows? Or am I modifying the light? Am I silking a window? Am I, leaving a window open? Is there hard sun coming in? It's like all these things are a consideration. So I'm always trying to figure that out first. And then based on how that looks, that determines how I'm going to build my strobe on top of that ambient. But I think a lot of people don't understand what the strobe, when they use strobe, like you were mentioning, using strobe with models, a lot of people don't understand how to get that strobe exposure initially to look correct. And a lot of times they're seeing too much ambient. It's like they're getting a great ambient exposure on their camera, and then they're adding flash to it, and they're trying to dial in the flash based on that exposure. And it's, to me, you got to crush the ambient first. You got to kill the ambient to see the strobe. If you don't do that, you'll never know what your strobe's hitting, what your strobe's doing. You got to have, basically imagine shooting in a black room and then adding your strobe, and just see what your strobe is doing first. You have to understand where your ambient's coming from, what your directional light is, and then you've got to understand what your strobe's doing. And then there's a million different ways to modify a strobe. And I think that's where the true art and talent comes in, is how you shape the actual strobe. It's a single light source. It can be small, it can be big, it can be gridded, it can be feathered, it can be bounced. You can do a million different things with it. So, figuring out what works for you in the space that you have, that's the next step, and then once you kind of figure that out, it's easy. I guess. I don't know. Maybe not.
I was about to say, it doesn't sound so easy.
No. Yeah. A lot of considerations, but I think the main one that a lot of people are confused about is just seeing what the strobe is doing and not knowing how to modify it. I think people overlight things, and with Flambient as a perfect example, which I think is a great example, because I think Flambient, when I watch real estate videos and it's just blasting a light into the ceiling, which is lighting the whole room, blanketing it with this beautiful soft light. Everything from the left to right is getting lit top down. That's a style, that's a look, that's a way to control the flash, but that's one way to do it. But I teach like 20 different ways to do it, to control the flash. So where it's not flooding the room, maybe it's only flooding this part of a room, so learning how to kind of control the light that way to make it look like daylight, if you want it to look like daylight, or if you want it to be soft, really, really soft and fall off really fast. How do you do that?
It's just a little impractical for real estate photography.
No, it's totally
trying to walk around with a softbox. It ain't gonna fly. I've done it. I've tried.
I would never recommend this for real estate. Never. If I was doing real estate, like I said, I would do it exactly the way you do it. Like pop, pop, boom, boom. Although I'd probably use a light stand. I'm too old to be lifting that thing up and down, but.
Yeah, see, my biggest problem when I'm using flash, and that's why I'm gonna eventually one day take your workshop, maybe in Tennessee. I can't get the flash because I have I have a natural light style, and most of my work is natural light, and even when I include flash, I feel like it looks too flashy. and probably because I don't know how to modify it properly. But I have to learn how to make my flash look natural, where I'm just using it to accentuate, like you say, the natural light that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think a lot of people don't know the capability of a flash and a modifier. I think a lot of people light things frontally too hard, and I think that kind of creates a really flash look. It's not as pretty as something that might be side lit or backlit, and a flash, bouncing off the surface. I learned it all with shooting fashion. It's interesting what one light can do, and how, what you choose to point it at makes a huge difference. So, and the direction that it's coming at the camera or away from the camera is critical. There's so many considerations and ways to do things. You just have to kind of know what's the easiest, quickest way to do something sometimes. And sometimes it's just bouncing a head into the wall, I do it all the time. So it just depends.
Makes sense. Rich, I have a question for you. And this is going to go back to real estate a little, but something that you've said to me or said to our audience dozens and dozens of times over the last how many years when we're talking about flash versus natural light is my clients would never go for it. And I want to kind of touch on that or elaborate on that, where you say your clients would never go for it. Natural light, I mean, your clients would never go for that. They kind of expect the flash and ambient, and it kind of goes into what somebody said this in the chat. Let me see. Mario said it. I wonder if it's worth testing if you deliver something that's like HDR bracketed, would they even notice? So,
the answer is no, I guess, if I can jump in.
Sure.
Because the agent the only way you can see the difference is to put the same composition HDR and the same composition with the flambient in front of them. I would say 9 out of 10 times they will pick flambient in that way over the HDR. But if you just show them the HDR, they still say it's good enough. His real estate is good enough. I heard this one so many times from different clients. Not that my work is better than those people that are doing HDR, but they said there is something about your picture which I completely think the flambient shot caused that one. But they're always saying that we see something different in your shot. It's better, but we can explain it why it's better. So if you put both of them at the same time in front of them, they can pick the right one. But at the end of the day,
they don't understand why they like it.
Yes, at the end of the day, it's real estate. I mean, you can deliver HDR even if it's bad. That's why a lot of people still in business doing bad HDR. There's no.
And some clients like that look better. It's whiter, it's crisper, and some locations look better. Bleached out white. It's just. But I will say one thing about my clients. First of all, they like the lights on. Now, that's not using lights, but that's using the room lights. And many times I will shoot it with the lights off, but I'll take one frame so I can add the light that I want, and I don't have to deal with the color cast. But I often throw in always laundry rooms. I'm sure this will kill you, Stephen. If you ever shot a laundry room or a closet or a pantry. But I do a lot of my single bathroom shots. They will be ambient shots because they're not. It's not as blatant. But maybe it's just I'm so used to doing it, and my clients are so used to a look, and I'm so paranoid that they will not like it. I tend to do what I've done forever and ever for these clients that I've been working for 15 years for. But I just think that if you're looking at an editorial, now I might also on higher end shoots, some of my clients, I'm going to shoot most of it flambient. But I'm going to also go back, especially if I'm doing twilight, and right before twilight, I'm going to go around popping some ambient because it's beautiful. It's balanced. Everything looks great. And I have the time to go and just shoot some ambient shots. So yes, I do that. I will shoot ambient, and the client will love it. But I'm not going to do only that. It's just not a look. Except for my design clients, it's going to be much more of a look like editorial. But for my real estate clients, it's not worth it to me because I'm afraid I'll get home and won't be happy. So it's just as much time for me to shoot flash and use it as it is if I wasn't. It's the same thing to me. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely see a huge difference in Flambian and HDR, even with real estate. So I appreciate the difference when I see it. I think it's worth it. So, I think your clients would notice it too. You say they're probably not going to care. I think ultimately they're probably just happy to get the images back fast, right? I mean, and decent, right? Decent and fast, crisp, clean, all that kind of stuff. But I think, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, if one real estate agent's, getting all the business and they're using somebody who's shooting Flambiant, I mean, everybody's going to want to do the same thing they're doing, right?
And Nima, you nailed it. The client doesn't understand what they don't like about it, and it's not their responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They just know that something's not right, and I'm not going to teach them.
You have to explain why you're doing that, how you're doing that. I have new clients that hire us because they saw our Google review in Google and say, "Oh, you have 100 of them, so that's why we call." Okay, why that? The first question I asked them, why you're not working with the old photographer? What was wrong with that? Well, it wasn't shooting wide enough. Well, I'm the wrong person because I'm not shooting wide. So always you have to go back and teach them how you shoot and send them back to your portfolio because they look at that when they hire you. I'm not going to change my style of work for one client. This is how I shoot. You saw my portfolio, you hire me, you get the same thing. If you want to shoot wider, you got to find somebody else. Or if you want to shoot this way or that way, and I'm not providing that one, you got to find somebody else. So,
Stephen, I'm going to ask you, I know you just answered in the chat, but I'm going to ask you so everyone else can hear. Mario asks, we mentioned you use ProPhoto lighting. So what specifically do you like over ProPhoto versus Godox and Flashpoint, which I guess a good high percentage of real estate photographers are using, probably because of the cost, obviously. I think it plays a big factor why people are going there versus ProPhoto. But,
when I started, I bought the cheapest lights I could find, and they were like photogenic 500s plugins. The big old loud fan on the back and this little slider that went from 1/64th power to full power. And
were they mono lights or you had a pack?
Yeah, mono lights. Yeah, they were great. They were just clunky, heavy, loud. The cranks on them would get sticky, and I'd get shocked every now and then when I touch them, and all these good things, but. And I wore them out, and I think I destroyed both of them ultimately in the end. So they definitely, paid off in the long run. I think I probably paid $500 for both lights together at the time in the 90s. And, I had Dynalights for years and years and years.
Oh, I love my Dynalights.
Yeah. And I still have some, but I don't use them. They're the power packs with, and I just, I sold all my power pack gear, which was ProPhoto, when they came out with the original B1s, and I said, finally, I've got battery power that's powerful enough that I can go battery, which I just hated the power packs and the cords, extension cords, and the head cords, and all that crap was just like.
I used to shoot weddings with Dynalights, the portrait sessions with the 1,000-watt packs and the 500-watt pack. Oh, what a pain in the ass!
Great. Yeah.
Oh, they're great, but you got to run power from here or whatever. So.
Yeah, and sometimes the cords wouldn't work, and you're like, where are the extra cords? And you'd have to reverse them and plug them in, pigtail stuff. It's just, anyway, but ProPhoto, I shoot everything, all my strobes are pretty much full power all the time. I never really adjust it. It's just stuck on 10. So any strobe that I would use, if it was Godox or Flashpoint or Westcott, any strobe that I use, I would always just be stuck on 10. So it's not like a color temp consistency issue. I think with ProPhoto, you're paying a lot of money for the fact that like, let's say you're a fashion photographer and you're shooting at, your flash is on, a low setting like 2 or 3, and you're shooting really fast, you're going to get a consistent color across all the flashes. But with interiors, it's not, I'm at full power, the flash is always going to be pretty consistent if you're shooting any flash head. So to me, it's just more, I just feel more comfortable knowing that when I pull it out of the bag, it's going to work. And if it breaks down, I can get a replacement in most places, especially in Dallas, I can get one, in about an hour. So, it's just, to me, it's just the B10 pluses, like the grips come off and they're like really small and they fit in my camera bag like a lens. I can stick 3 of them in a Pelican case, carry them on with, on an airplane. I've got a little backpack that I can stick 3 heads in. So, I just think, I look at the Godox stuff, and it's like the base, the attachment, the stand attachment's still like built in. There's a big handle on it. It's like, it's clunky, it's big. So for me, ultimately, it's just kind of like a space saving thing, I guess.
Stephen, also, because you're mentioning your full power, what aperture are you shooting at? You're shooting probably ISO 100, so you're low on the ISO.
Okay, this will confuse you even more. I'm usually like around 1600 at about like 5.6 to f8. So,
wow.
Okay.
So why do you? I'm trying to wrap my head around why you need, because I understand. If you were shooting f11 or higher.
Well, because I modify the light. I modify the lights a lot.
Oh, you're okay.
So a lot of times it's like the lights are outside of the window. They're coming through a window, and a lot of these newer houses, the windows are like double tinted. They're sucking up a lot of light. I use polarizers a lot. So, I'm basically cutting the light down to like nothing sometimes. So I got to like really crank the ISO to even see it. So,
I'm coming to your workshop.
But that's the fun thing about lighting is like you can do so much. And I think a lot of people, and anybody that's been in my workshop before, a lot of people come in and they're like stuck at F11 at 100 ISO, and they don't understand why, their strobe doesn't look good. And I'm like, well, you're not really seeing the strobe yet. It's like, you've got to have a really powerful light to see it. You're, F11 at 100 ISO, you need a lot of light. So
600 watt seconds or more.
Yeah. You can't, none of this on camera flash stuff's going to work. So,
but you're talking about being old. I see some of these young guys carrying around 600s, hand holding 600s all day on real estate. I'm like, I ain't got that.
Yeah. I'm shooting with 300 all day.
I use a 200 now. That's it.
Yeah. That's why you should get the Pro Photo. It's so light. No, I was kidding.
Send me one. I'll use it.
No, so I'm going to be testing out some Westcott lights coming up here pretty soon. So I'm excited to try them out. I'm not sponsored by Pro Photo, and it's not something that I push for any reason. That's what I use right now. So, and that's, they're very expensive, but they're reliable. So, you got to kind of consider, like for me, I use strobe a lot, and it's like, I feel like the things that you really should invest money in are, good lenses, over a body, a good tripod head,
and a good workshop.
And a good workshop, and, and a reliable, and a very powerful, reliable flash, Well,
let me ask you, what brand are you?
Well, I've been shooting Sony for a long time, like an A7R3, but about a year and a half ago, I switched to the GFX 100S Fuji, which I kind of go back and forth. I do some jobs with my Sony and some jobs with my Fuji. It just kind of depends on the client, kind of what I feel like the ultimate output's going to be. It's 100 megapixels is kind of a beast. It's like, I think I need to get the 50 now. It's the 100's just like killing me. I don't even process them out at 100%. It's like 70% usually. They're just the files are too big, but they're beautiful.
Nima, what are you using?
I'm a Nikon guy.
Oh, wow.
Still Nikon
Z6. Yes.
Cool. What do you shoot with, Brian? Are you a Canon guy?
I'm Canon. Yeah, I'm R5. Yeah. So that's giving me like 45 megapixels. So it's easy to work with and it's tolerable. But I feel like you said, 100, like anything more than that, it just gets crazy.
Yeah, I don't use shift lenses, so I do a lot of crop shifting. So the 100 kind of pays off. So I'll do a lot of extreme cropping just to avoid the shift lenses.
Do you shoot wider to compensate for those crops?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. So I'll shoot with a 23. Yeah, I'll shoot with a 23 a lot, which is like an 18, and crop around in that. So I'll crop a lot and with the 23. So
Cool, makes
And I'm
sense.
still using A6000, little old A6000 and a Samyang 12 millimeter manual lens for 90% of my real estate.
oh
It's
wow,
just small, it's light, it's just easy for me, and it's fine. I don't notice any difference between that and my A7 III, or any of my other lenses.
Yeah.
Just chromatic aberration is an issue, but for real estate, it just doesn't. I don't really care.
Yeah, and I think with the smaller size sensor size, you're getting all that extra depth of field. You could really go nuts with strobe and shoot everything at 2.8.
I shoot 7.1 with the crop sensor, and it just works for me.
Mhm.
And it just makes my day better. It's like having a really nice head on your tripod. It just makes my life better, having knobs to play with. So.
Hey, well, I just want to answer. Cindy asked, "Why don't I like a shift lens?" I'll just jump in there and just say just quickly. I have a shift. I have a 24 shift lens. I used to shoot with a Fuji 680, which every lens is a shift lens on it. I used to shoot 4x5 with a digital back, which everything's a shift lens. So I do like shift lenses, but I just feel like I don't need to use them anymore. It just takes too much time. I'm not trying to get the crop perfect. In camera, I'll overshoot a shot and crop to what I think it works best, and not kind of dilly dally over like the edges, So, I kind of stand where I think my camera should be, and then I pick the lens that'll cover what I want to see, and then I just crop from there. So,
Do you do a fake tilt shift at all?
you mean
tilting your camera, shooting wider, going higher, tilting down, and correcting?
I mean, I'll correct keystone if I have. Yeah, I mean, usually it's more for exteriors. I'll end up shooting wider and tilt up, but tilting forward, I mean, I will correct keystone. The easiest way to do it is to shoot super wide and fix it. So yeah, I will do that from time to time. But I have a 24 tilt shift, and I'll use that from time to time. But it's just, to me, it's just like it's not as sharp as the 23. So if I can get it on the 23 and crop to it, I'm fine.
Cool. Sounds good. Before we wrap up, we're going to give a final word from our last sponsor, PhotoUp.
Let's face it, editing sucks. It sucks time, it sucks money, and it sucks resources away from your business and your family. That's why PhotoUp has changed the game. PhotoUp allows you to work one-on-one with an experienced editor that is 100% dedicated to you and your business. Photographers with a PhotoUp dedicated editor say their edits are good or amazing 98.6% of the time. They're able to deliver images to their clients faster, and they get editing as low as 50 cents per image.
Really? As low as 50 cents an image?
You heard that right. Editing as low as 50 cents per image. Ready to find your dedicated editor? Sign up for a free PhotoUp account at photoup.net and send trial images to 3 different dedicated editors. That's right. Try 3 different editors absolutely free.
3 for free. I like that.
So today, when you're all done shooting spaces, head over to photoup.net and hit the sign up button, or click the PhotoUp logo on the Shooting Spaces website.
And don't forget to tell them Rich and Brian sent you.
All right. Thank you, PhotoUp. And as we close out and wrap up, I know we kind of mentioned and teased a few times. You got workshops coming up, so I will let you plug those if you want. Stephen, quickly, I know obviously you're going to be at the newly announced Shifter Summit in March coming up. So I think as of this recording, there are 7 seats left. So we're going to release in a few weeks. So hopefully they're still available at that point. Nima, I know you're going to be at Stephen's workshop. You told me earlier today, which is pretty cool. And I will see if I can get out a couple of days earlier and attend also, because I need to hit one of your workshops, Stephen, whether it's Nashville or sometime else. I know you have a bunch of other ones that are sold out now. You have one in Maine that's sold out, but you're constantly giving workshops now. That's like that's a fairly new thing for you, right, this year?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out. We started it in January, and we've done 5. We have our 5th one just booked up in Maine later this year, and we're hoping to get 1 or 2 more in at least announced for this year. Probably in closer to the fall, winter time when it slows down for everybody. Definitely like December, January for sure. But yeah, if you can't get in early, we'll have to do like a late night strobe session in a blacked out hotel room or something. And
sounds good. I'm in. But nevertheless, where can people find some information on your workshops?
It's on my home website. We don't have a separate website for it yet, so it's just stephenkarlisch.com. There's a tab for it on there. And if you get on our wait list, this is the problem with workshops is we only open them up to about 10 to 12 people max. And, we have a pretty extensive wait list. And so we'll announce it to the wait list first. And then they've been selling out really fast, with 10 people, it goes pretty quick. So, we used to kind of think we were going to have to sell it all on Instagram or something. But, if you're on the wait list, if you want to do it, just get on that wait list and hopefully, you're paying attention when the email comes out.
You do it in Texas?
We've been doing all of them in Dallas so far, but we decided to do one in Maine. There was a photographer in Maine who wanted us to come up there, and we said if you would host. And so then we started a hosting program now. So we have people that are trying to get us to different cities. So
yeah, I did workshops in Dallas a couple of years ago, and getting a place to do your workshop is to me the hardest part of the workshop.
That's the one thing we've learned is it's tricky, but it's not something you can teach on a chalkboard. Kind of need a space.
Yeah. Cool, but there are some spots still available for March in Nashville. So if you want
that's just a one day, so that'll be interesting to see how I can structure that to get all the information I want to get in there in a one day. But so
most years are 2 days.
3 days now.
3 days.
Yeah. We tried to do 2 days, and the 2 days were I felt like it wasn't enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you have some people in the chat saying there's a bunch of people that want a DC workshop. So I guess you found some hosts.
I'll be there on Saturday. I'll be there. I'm shooting all next week in DC. So I'll be there on Saturday.
That's cool. Awesome.
You near Baltimore? Is that what you said?
I'm 25 minutes from DC, Baltimore, and Annapolis, which is the capital of Maryland. So
okay. Well, maybe we can hook up while I'm in DC.
Sure.
I'll be on the Alexandria side, so I'll be on the Virginia side.
I'll DM you.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
Cool. Well, as we wrap up, I want to thank all our attendees that are here live listening to us for joining us. Stephen, as always, it's always fun chatting, and I look forward to finally meeting you in person come at least in March, unless I find myself in Dallas before then, which you never know with my schedule. Last time I was there, I forgot what happened, but we couldn't meet up. Something happened, but nevertheless, and Nima, as always, it's always fun. I'm going to be in DC actually in a month, so hopefully we'll meet up. Last time I was in DC, Mario and I took Nima to a baseball game, and Nima knows nothing about sports. Had the worst time ever, but it was fun hanging with you.
And maybe I'll have you, Stephen. I'll host you down in Baja, Mexico, because we have some crazy houses down there. Talk about crazy colors.
Are you in San Diego?
What's that?
Are you in San Diego?
I live in Sacramento.
Oh, Sacramento, really?
Northern Cal.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. And the capital of California. But I live in the winter. I spend my time down in Mexico and Baja, and I'll tell you, it's a whole different world shooting down there in many ways. But the colors alone are freaking crazy colors.
Yeah.
So, really cool stuff, though.
Well, cool. Are you, Rich, are you by chance going to be at that thing in March, the Shifter conference at all?
I probably won't be, but I'll tell you, I'd like to come to your workshop.
Well, I'm trying to get out to California, so maybe we can figure something out. I was hoping to make it to the PMRE this year, but I'm actually booked on the dates that it's going on, so I won't be able to go. But I thought that sounded like a lot of fun. So I'll definitely have to.
Well, if you're ever in Northern California or San Francisco or Lake Tahoe, and come skiing or come hang out, and be my pleasure. As well with Mr. Nima and Brian. Anybody out there, just come on by.
Come on down. Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, listen, I want to say thank you so much for both of you spending the time entrusting us to spread the word for you. Stephen, looking forward to finding more out about your workshops. It got me really excited. And thank you, Nima, friend of the family.
Pleasure.
And yeah, awesome. Legend Nima Mohammadi. And another legend, Brian Berkowitz. And thank you so much. And I just want to say from all of us at Shooting Spaces, all of you, until next time, we'll see you and go out and shoot some spaces.